Having taken this subject, students will have knowledge about teaching method and classroom management. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, I hope we are all in a good condition. Welcome to Teaching Method and Classroom Management class. I am Reza Pustika, M.Pd, the lecturer for Teaching Method and Classroom Management subject. Before we go further to today's topic of discussion, you would better know that this subject is related to classroom management, including the selection of approach, method, and techniques applied in learning process, as well as the whole organization of class in each session. Further, it covers pre, while, and post-teaching activity in learning process. Having taken this subject, students will have knowledge about teaching method and classroom management. By taking this subject, students are expected to be able to explain brief history of language teaching and all teaching methods and classroom management, explain the concept and examples of communicative approach, and demonstrate classroom management through micro-teaching. To be more specific, by watching this learning video, you are expected to be able to understand approach, method, and technique in language teaching, the importance of teaching, and problems in teaching and learning process. The source for this learning video is taken from Richard's 2014. The title is Approaches and Methods in Language Teaching. Approach, method, and technique. When linguists and language specialists sought to improve the quality of language teaching in the late 19th century, they often did so by referring to general principles and theories concerning how language are learned, how knowledge of language is represented and organized in memory, or how language itself is structured. Henry Sweet, 1845 until 1912, Otto Jesperson, 1860 until 1943, and Harold Palmer, 1877 until 1949, elaborated principles and theoretically accountable approaches to the design of language teaching programs, courses, and materials. Though many of the specific practical details were left to be worked out by others. In an attempt to clarify this difference, a scheme was proposed by the American applied linguist Edward Anthony in 1963. He identified three levels of conceptualization and organization, which he termed approach, method, and technique. The arrangement is hierarchical. The organizational key is that technique carries out a method which is consistent with an approach. An approach is a set of correlative assumptions dealing with the nature of language teaching and learning. An approach is axiomatic. It describes the nature of the subject matter to be taught. Method is an overall plan for the orderly presentation of language material, no part of which contradicts and all of which is based upon the selected approach. While an approach is axiomatic, A method is procedural. Within one approach, there can be many methods. A technique is implementational, that which actually takes place in a classroom. It is a particular trick or contrivance used to accomplish an immediate objective. Techniques must be consistent with a method and therefore in harmony with an approach as well. Anthony, 1963. Although Anthony's original purpose has the advantage of simplicity and comprehensiveness and serves as a useful way of distinguishing the relationship between underlying theoretical principle and the practices derived from them, it fails to give sufficient attention to the nature of a method itself. Nothing is said about the roles of teachers and learners assumed in a method. A number of other ways of conceptualizing approaches and methods in language teaching have been proposed. Mackey, in his book Language Teaching Analysis in 1965, elaborated perhaps the most well-known model of the 1960s. One that focuses primarily on the levels of method and technique. Mackey's model of language teaching analysis concentrates on the dimension of selection, gradation, presentation, and repetition underlying a method. His model fails to address the level of approach, nor does it deals with the actual classroom behaviors of teachers and learners, except as these are represented in textbook. Approach. At least three different theoretical views of and the nature of language proficiency explicitly or implicitly inform current approaches and methods in language teaching. The first and the most traditional of the three is the structural view. The view that language is a system of structurally related elements for the coding of meaning. The target of language learning is seen to be the mastery of elements of the system, which are generally defined in terms of phonological units, grammatical operations, and lexical items. The second view of language is the functional view. The view that language is a vehicle for the expression of functional meaning. The communicative movement in language teaching subscribes to this view of language. This theory emphasizes the semantic and communicative dimension rather than merely the grammatical characteristic of language, and leads to a specification and organization of language teaching content by categories of meaning and function rather than by elements of structure and grammar. The third view of language can be called the interactional view. It sees language as a vehicle for the realization of interpersonal relations and for the performance of social transactions between individuals. Language is seen as a tool for the creation and maintenance of social relations. Although specific theories of the nature of language may provide the basis for a particular teaching method, other methods derive primarily from a theory of language learning. Stephen V. Crescent's Monitor Model of Second Language Development, 1981, is an example of a learning theory on which a method, the natural approach, has been built. At the level of process, creation distinguishes between acquisition and learning. Acquisition refers to the natural assimilations of language rules through using language for communication. Learning refers to the formal study of language rules and is a conscious process. Method. In order for an approach to lead to a method, it is necessary to develop a design for an instructional system. Design is the level of method analysis in which we consider what the objectives of the method are, how the language content is selected and organized within the method, that is, the syllabus model and method incorporates, the types of learning tasks and teaching activities the method advocates, the role of learners, the roles of teachers, and the roles of instructional materials. The last level of conceptualization and organization within a method is what we will refer to a procedure. This encompasses the actual moment, technique, practice, and behaviors that operate in teaching a language according to a particular method. It is the level at which we describe how a method realizes its approach and design in classroom behavior. At the level of design, we saw that a method will advocate the use of certain types of teaching activities as a consequence of its rhetorical assumptions about language and learning. At the level of procedures, we are concerned with how these tasks and activities are integrated into lessons and used as the basis for teaching and learning. There are three dimensions to a method at the level of procedures. 1. The use of teaching activities, drills, dialogue, information gap activities, and so on, to present new language and to clarify and demonstrate formal, communicative, and other aspects of the target language. 2. The ways in which particular teaching activities we are used for practicing language. And third, the procedures and techniques used in giving feedback to learners concerning the form or content of their utterance or sentence. Well, guys, as you have come to the end of this learning video, I want to summarize our discussion to you. First, approach, method, and techniques are hierarchical. Second, an approach is a set of correlative assumptions dealing with the nature of language teaching and learning. An approach is axiomatic. Third, method is an overall plan for the orderly presentation of language material. A method is procedural. Within one approach, there can be many methods. A technique is implementational. It is a particular trick to achieve learning objectives. There are at least three approaches. They are the structural view, the functional view, and the interactional view. Okay guys, that covers what I want to share with you in this learning video. For your own teaching practice later, I recommend you to read more on the works of experts. You will surely get inspiration from them. For your own reflection and to check your understanding, please kindly check your Spada. There you can find post-tests to check your understanding about this topic. If you want to have further discussion under this topic, do not hesitate to contact me. Thank you so much to watch this video until it ends. Don't forget to like all videos in Kuliah Teknokrat channel and subscribe it. It will surely help your college study. I'm Reza Pustika signing out. Thank you. Goodbye.
Terima kasih sudah menyaksikan video pembelajaran ini. Jangan lupa like, komen dan subscribe, serta nyalakan tanda loncengnya agar kalian tidak ketinggalan informasi update lainnya.